Hello and welcome to a lovely evening at Gen Con here in Indianapolis. My name is Maya, I'm from Secret Hitler and Breaking Games, and I am here with two excellent people from Upper Deck. This is Rob, and this is Tyler.
Hello, everybody.
Nice. Yeah, say hello to the internet. It's out there.
Hi, Internet.
We are about to get into this game, Legendary James Bond. Can one of you please give me like a little spiel about this game you made?
Absolutely. This is Legendary 007, a James Bond deck building game.
Type.
And in it, we're covering sort of the 4 of the Bond movies, so that you get a nice breadth of the bonds that have been represented over the years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got GoldenEye, Goldfinger, Man with the Golden Gun, and Casino Royale.
Very good.
Yeah, I didn't mess any of them up
Dude,
this
that's
time.
like, he's like the odd man out.
And the reason why we have those movies is it represents 4 eras of Bond. Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig.
The 3 of them were gold, and then Daniel Craig was like...
Well, yeah, we had a gold theme going there for a little
We
bit.
had a gold theme
We like to
going.
just kind of throw you off course. So
It's
you
totally-
think that, you think you know what the
Well,
Pulled
and
the
this-
rug up from under Daniel Craig
Well,
like that.
not really.
Not really?
It's Casino Royale. That's monetary base.
Yeah,
you
gold
cash
guns.
cash in some gold bars.
Finger
yeah,
guns,
yeah.
you guys are clever as crap. Alright.
Connection.
So here's the game, and it says legendary here. And I was talking to you guys earlier about legendary games, and you also have some games that are legendary encounter games. Can you briefly tell us what is a legendary game and what is a legendary encounter game?
Well, Legendary was our base deck building system that came out in 2012, and it was Marvel, and it became a really, really popular game because it's a very great game in a very short order. And we've since grown that Legendary gaming system into a number of different IPs and more expansions than I can count for the Legendary Marvel itself. And in Legendary, it's a deck building game where you take your weaker starting hands, build up your decks to become stronger in an effort to defeat the evil mastermind 4 times before he completes his evil scheme. And so the game would move where everybody would take a turn. They would start their turn by simply flipping over a card out of the villain deck.
Right.
And then they would play out their cards, fight the villains, recruit new, better heroes, and then the next person would do the same thing and take the next turn.
And some really important and cool things about that is that it kind of creates a sense of I'm trying to build a really cool, powerful deck and get all of these things, but you're up against a timeline because every turn a villain's coming out, so you've also got to make sure you're dealing with the threats that come up. And then the legendary system in and of itself is a bit more of a modular experience.
Okay.
As Robin mentioned, like the original Marvel has a lot of expansions. I believe it's up to 20 expansions now,
That
which
is
is a
so
lot.
many expansions!
It's
Right.
massive.
Wow.
But you don't throw them all together, like they're not all add-on expansions. Each expansion essentially gives you new hero characters and villain
That you can
characters
mix
and
and match.
schemes and
Okay.
masterminds, and it's about mixing and matching and giving tons of replayability.
Cool.
You want to play the latest movie that came out, you can probably find all the characters and schemes that will match it, and you can play it. Our encounter system, which you're alluding to, we have probably our most successful or well-known one would be the Alien deck building game. Legendary Encounters, an Alien deck building game, and that follows a little bit more of a narrative structure. You're fighting through or going through a story, and you have objectives and events that are happening, and it's also built in a way that's a little bit more on that narrative drive.
Okay.
You know, it ramps more evenly in terms of the plot points, and it captures a little bit of a different experience.
So you're telling me that I can be Sigourney Weaver?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yeah, and
I
you get
want
to
20.
and you get to fight tons and an endless wave of aliens. It's
Excellent.
very difficult, but
Endless
it's
wave.
super cooperative.
Yeah.
If I were Sigourney Weaver, I would just punch aliens in the face.
Yeah, and that's what you do.
Oh my god, okay, cool. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get this
That's
game.
exactly what you do. But then the aliens hit you back.
No, that's not.
Oh, no.
No.
No, the aliens hit me
I'm a
back.
little,
How's
I'm a little
that?
too badass. I just hit the aliens and they're just like, whoa, I was hit. What do I do?
Yeah.
And then the war is over.
Well, I need to play with her because I always lose.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's
I
a
have
challenging
discovered
game.
the secret to an alien invasion. Okay, anyway, all right. So this game's cool. How many players is this
Oh,
game?
actually, one thing I wanted
Okay.
to mention,
Sure.
because we're kind of contrasting the legendary and the legendary encounters.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this game is actually designed by Super Awesome Games, and they're the ones that did Legendary Encounters and Alien Deck Building game, as well as several of our other Encounters games.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought them into this one because we're focusing on 4 movies, and movies follow that narrative structure. We wanted to pull in elements that allowed us mechanically to do that, and that's one of the things that's a little bit different in this. You still have your mastermind, you still have the scheme, which is super modular, but when you build out the deck, you have these missions that sort of create that plot path to take you through the movie. And so it's the little bit of a hint that comes
Yeah,
in
it's
from
like
there.
a little bit of story, a little bit of chaos.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. So yeah, once again, how many players is this game for?
1 to 5.
1 to 5.
And it's an excellent solo player experience.
Okay.
It really
Yeah.
is. All of the legendary games are.
Honestly, I'm really loving a lot of new games coming up with solo play experiences. Like I'm super down.
Yeah, because there's just sometimes you want to play a game and you just can't find a friend to play
Yeah,
with.
sometimes you're just chilling
That
by
shouldn't
yourself.
stop us from having fun.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
All right. So this is a 1 to 5 player game. So is this like cooperative, semi-cooperative, every man for himself? What's going on?
It's a semi-cooperative game where all of the players join together to try to defeat Goldfinger before he, in this case, Goldfinger
As the mastermind?
as the mastermind, before he accomplishes his scheme, Operation Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
So they all try to defeat Goldfinger. The competitive part of the semi-cooperative part of this game is when you defeat a villain, you're awarded victory points.
Okay.
Or when you complete a mission, you're awarded victory points. So you, at the end of the game, once you've, and we all know we're going to beat Goldfinger, right?
I mean, he sucks. His finger is gold. How scary could he be?
Yeah, how really?
Honestly.
Really, yeah. So at the end of the game, after we've defeated our evil mastermind, we then calculate the cards that we've defeated in our victory pile, and the player with the most victory points is the best 00 agent.
Okay, so who gets the points? Like, is it like the final blow person? Like whoever
Well,
really
as-
knocks him out?
Like in the case of this villain, if
Yeah.
you defeated this villain, it gives you a number of victory points per card.
Right, okay.
So if you defeated this, you would take it and set it in your victory pile.
Okay.
And then at the end, you would just add up the victory points from all of your defeated villains.
Okay.
And when you beat the mastermind, so the mastermind tends to be a little bit stronger, harder to build up the power to
The
take
big
him
bad
down.
boss.
When you strike him, he doesn't go down in just one hit. No good mastermind would.
Yeah, you said 4 earlier.
Yes, exactly. And so when you actually, each of the masterminds comes with a set of 4 mastermind
Dastardly
tactics.
deeds.
Yes, and those are some thematic things. You shuffle them up. That's how when you're setting up, you build it. So then when you get enough attack to have struck him, you pull one of those cards out. That card will then actually have an effect that resolves. So this one is Mr. Solo's Pressing Engagement. And when you fight him, you draw 2 fewer cards at the end of the turn. So it's kind of like you not only was he hard to get up and hit,
Yeah, but now
now
your
you're
deck
getting
is
a little
less
bit of
cool.
it. Yes, but you get a high victory point card into your
At the
victory
end of
pile
the-
for the end of the
okay.
game.
And anybody who's watched Goldfinger knows exactly why we used Mr. Solo's Pressing Engagement. Gives you a weaker, smashed starting hand the next turn because that's when poor Solo got crushed in the car crusher.
Yep, and we always try to build our mechanics thematically around, we tie that in from the screenshot and with what's happening in terms of the game effect and any other text that's on the card.
This game reeks of that.
Yes.
It does. It really. The designers who did this game and who do the Encounters games, they really, really stress the thematics of the IP that they're given. So they absolutely try at the best that they can to give you little twists and turns and go like, oh yeah, so that's why this card was in here, and that's why this card does what it does. And they even went so far as to stack the deck where you would build it in a random sense, but in 3 pieces, so that you have a beginning, a middle, and end of the movie. So it's like you're playing the movie Goldfinger, and it immerses you into that plot of that movie that we all love.
So how easy is this game to get into? It sounds like it's got a lot of story elements to it. So like, do you have to be a fan of James Bond
No.
to play this game, or can
No.
any person off the street just play it and still have fun?
Any person off the street can play Legendary.
Cool.
And at first glance, Legendary might look a little daunting. But it is no way daunting at all. Once you get used to like, oh, that's a star means this, and a coin means that, and the red slash marks means fight, and the mechanics on the cards are clearly written and usually very easy to understand.
Okay.
The game just is.
Pretty easy to pick up.
When I do a demo, I can have fairly good gamers who have maybe even never played a deck builder before playing this game competently in 5 or 6 minutes with me along to help them through their first game till the end.
Nice,
But then
yeah, of
after
course.
that, they're good to go.
Well, and deck builders naturally lend themselves to learning because you start with a deck that literally half of your cards just give you 1 recruit point and the other half give 1 attack. There's nothing other than that. And each turn you're adding maybe 1 card into the mix. So you're not having to take in the full rule set all
Right,
at once.
right.
You're building that deck up over time and kind of playing through it as it goes, and so that naturally follows a really clear path.
And so you guys were saying that you have to defeat the mastermind 4 times.
Yeah.
And then you're saying something about other baddies. Like, what are some of the obstacles that the players face
So-
playing the game?
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
So you have to face, coming out of our story deck, our villain deck, you have to face all of the villains and henchmen that accompanied Goldfinger in his plot of Operation Grand Slam. And along the way, there are mission cards in here where you have to achieve some of the things that James Bond did in the film, like, let's advance
Yeah,
this
what's
a
that
little
one?
bit. The first one is, the very first thing he kind of did in the movie was, when you watch the beginning of the movie, he's sneaking onto a drug smuggling dock, sneaking into the warehouse, putting the plastic explosive place and blowing it up. So you would have henchmen, villains, and missions that you have to defeat, and also the villains themselves all come out and push each other along the track.
Okay. So you've got like villain henchman track.
Mm-hmm.
What's the track at the bottom there?
That the row at the bottom is basically your pool of cards that you can recruit to make your deck even stronger.
Ah, okay.
That's the Q branch,
That's
we
the
call
Q
it.
branch, okay.
So we have on assignment is where the villains go, and Q branch is where the heroes that are available to you to go. Plus, as we all, who doesn't love Moneypenny?
Yeah.
So at that card way over there in the corner
I like
is
his hat.
Huh?
I like his hat. The little bowler hat. that he's
The little
wearing.
bowler hat.
That's great.
Moneypenny's all the way over there.
Oh, Moneypenny's the other person.
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
And as for the 4 movies, we tried to even put a Moneypenny from each era of Bond in there.
Oh,
Even though
nice.
all the cards do exactly the same thing in the game, they each have their identical look. So there's the Moneypenny from the Sean Connery era, the Moneypenny from the Roger Moore era, the Pierce Brosnan era.
Holding
and
true to the movies as we can.
Right.
At the end.
Right, you're like weaving in the story there.
And one thing I wanted to point out, so as these are coming out, if you're not defeating them, they'll push along and then escape, and then bad stuff happens when you escape, which
Bad
makes
stuff
it concerning.
happens.
Friggin' yikes.
And the one difference for anybody who's played Legendary, the typical games, is that we have a danger level. The missions all
yeah,
carry a
that's
danger level. Yeah.
There.
So as cards come out, if the players themselves can't defeat them in time, and they get pushed off the end of the on assignment track, bad things happen.
Right.
For a villain, it's bad, but it's not terrible. When a mission escapes, it has a little number in the yellow.
The
Looks-
scary triangle there.
Yeah, that
Scary
scary
triangle.
caution
That
looking
is
triangle.
terrifying.
And if that escaped, the danger level would increase by 1 because
Okay.
it has a 1 there. Different missions have different, danger levels.
And missions sometimes can be a little bit difficult. They're a little bit bigger obstacle than, say, a henchman. So they're that priority that keeps moving down, and you're keeping your eye on it as you're running out of time, like a bomb that's ticking down or something of that nature.
And as the game proceeds, if you let too many missions escape, the danger will arrive to a point where the scheme tells you you lose.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So you can't just be like
You can't just let the missions
laughing
go.
in the face of danger. Like you have to actually
Right.
like
So
solve
in-
problems.
Yes.
Okay.
In this particular scheme, when you reach danger level 5, the evil wins.
They just win. Whole game done.
Right.
Yes.
They win. Okay.
And the other thing about missions is that's kind of fun is that some missions take attack. This is the attack symbol. Some missions take attack to defeat, where other missions, like catching Goldfinger, cheating at cards, take recruit to defeat.
Okay.
So some missions take brute force, like blowing up a smuggling dock,
Of course.
and some missions take an intellectual, I'm going to outwit my
A
opponent,
little bit of finesse.
a little bit of finesse. So
Nice,
Bond's
finesse,
got to be
okay.
able to recruit missions out of the game and attack missions out
He's
of the game.
sneaky, charismatic, and has finesse.
Exactly.
Like a fox.
Again, we wanted to try to keep
Yes.
this as thematic and as much as like the movies
I
as
like
we
it.
possibly could.
And you've got these excellent different bonds here. These are you're focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
What about each of their decks makes them special?
Well, they're all the same in the sense that they all have the same basic recruit and
Right.
attack cards.
Okay.
Then each one of them, the difference, I'm sorry, I backtrack.
It's all good.
They're not all the same,
Right.
obviously. They look different.
Yes. Of course. Yes.
They're all the same in a game sense, but we have a starting deck for each of the 4 bonds
Right.
for our 4 movies. And then in addition to that, to give each bond a little bit of a personality,
Flair.
you get to start with one of 5 special cards to add into your deck of 12 basic cards. So you have 12 basic starting cards and 1 special starting card.
And those are specific to the bond that you're playing.
And
at the
these
time.
are also to the era of Bond. So
Okay.
each one of these special hero, there's 5 special heroes for each Bond,
Mm-hmm.
20 special heroes, starters for the game.
Okay.
And you don't have to use this special guy only on Craig.
Oh, you can mix and match
Yeah.
You
specials.
could mix and match.
That
That's
is the
cool.
core of Legendary. And the cool thing too is that that's one of those initial setup decisions. Well, what little bonus do I want going into this game? And then if you lose, maybe you rethink that decision on which starting card that you want to have.
And my special ability, this special ability makes it easier for me to recruit more James Bond hero cards out of the Q branch section. So I'm going to take this and then I'm going to concentrate on getting as many James Bond heroes out of there to help me defeat Goldfinger.
And that's one of the cooperative elements in terms of like, okay, I'm going to start with this, and this is where I'm going to focus, like kind of pre-planning your goal in the game, and then things can go off course.
Yeah. Or if you're playing like Tyler and I,
Oh, what does that mean?
and
A bit more competitive.
we
Oh,
don't,
okay, yeah,
we don't
what
want
does
to
that
we don't
mean?
want to cooperate. I might say, well, I know Tyler really likes James Bond heroes, but I don't want him to have that one because that's a really good one. So I'm going to recruit it before he can get it.
Yeah,
Is
that
there
happens from time to time.
is there any benefit in this game to being sneaky like that?
Only
Just like self-pride?
Yeah, I think it's kind of
Self-pride,
Feel a
and
little
just
better?
the competitive
Yeah.
side of it,
Okay.
when you want to sort of outperform each other,
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
fun little twist that you can kind of throw.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is sort of a fun little twist.
But nothing specifically mechanical.
Right.
Yeah.
We
But
touched
yeah.
on a bunch of different elements of the game. Can you like walk us through like one round of the game?
Okay.
Like what is
Sure.
how does it feel?
Of course I can. So let's.
Oh, I can help. I'm helping. Put that. Should I put it? I'm doing so good at helping.
Let's,
Like the number
let's see what we
one
got here. So
helper.
let's put this mission back in.
Okay.
And then while he's setting that up, one of the things that I want to highlight too is that you don't see a lot of Bond or 007 games out there. We're really lucky to be able to work with
Yeah,
this
it's mostly
licensor.
like video games.
Yes, exactly.
Not a lot
And-
of board games.
Yeah, so that's one of the exciting things is that if you want to play Bond, it's not something. It's been underrepresented really in the tabletop space for a long time, and I feel like it overlaps really well just because we have all of these different genres. There's a Bond fan of every age,
Yeah.
and we have gamers of every age. So I think that
Exactly.
it's fantastic for that. I've already had tons of people stopping by like, my dad's not a gamer, but if I get this, he will play it with me.
He will start.
And that's another fantastic thing. It's such a good entry level because it's a deck builder. Sit down, okay. Here, Dad, you just play these out like you can learn as you go, and it's such a fantastic way to introduce people into the hobby
Pulls people
that
in.
love this IP, but then never thought that there would be a game.
The game of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I saw you doing some wizardry shuffling.
This is my starter deck, and I
Alright.
am the Daniel Craig era Bond.
Daniel Craig. Okay.
So the game would begin. I would draw 6 cards from my hand.
Okay.
So this is now my starting hand. This is now my deck.
Okay.
All you deck building genre guys know exactly what I'm doing.
Yes.
The first thing I would do to start my turn is I would turn a card over from the villain deck and advance the story. So
That
he enters on
says-
assignment.
What does that say?
This is the
Fort Knox Assault Team
Henchman.
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 The henchman
And he takes
I
three-
can read.
He takes 3 to attack.
Okay.
So then I would play out my cards that I'm given. So this card I would play first because that's my special card because
Right.
that gives me my personality.
Right.
And right at the top of this card it says draw 1 card. So here we go.
We're drawing.
And then it gives me a special ability that talks about triggering a class combo, which I can't do, so I won't bother you
What's
with the
triggering a
detail.
class count? No, bother us
Oh,
with the details.
triggering a class. Okay, so now we're getting into the heroes have different classes and colors. You can see the difference in the borders.
I see that. Yeah.
So this is a covert card in red. That's a tech card in the black border.
Wait, are all those heroes?
These are all heroes cards.
That
They're all-
tire is a hero.
So
That-
it's not Bond without the cool equipment and gadgets.
Yeah.
So we wanted to represent that and
That's
put a
valid.
spotlight on it.
That excellent Jaguar.
I should say a hero group.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was like, that
So
tire
we,
is doing
we
a
made
great
a group
job.
for the car.
Okay, awesome. Honestly, I feel like, especially in the James Bond based game, like I feel like that's like
Right.
And
required.
little shout out, if you are at Gen Con, we have a prop used car, an Aston Martin,
Oh.
in the booth. Come take a picture.
I thought you just be like, if you're at Gen Con, we'll give you a brand new car.
Hey!
We'll give you a
Come to Gen
picture of a
Con.
car.
We're just tossing
really
out
s-
Aston Martins.
It's really small.
Is it really small?
Well, if we have to give everyone one,
You
we
could give
have to
them
make-
full size cars with
I
your
don't think so.
unlimited James Bond skills.
Oh, that's
yeah.
true.
That's how that works. Okay.
Someone sounds like a mastermind. Over
I know
there.
exactly what I'm doing. My fingers are gold. All right,
Yeah.
so
So
what's going on?
each hero you can recruit has different recruit abilities or attack abilities or class, which is just like tech or
Yeah.
covert or instinct or ranged, and then that last one down there is another instinct card.
Okay.
So they combo off one another. You can tailor make your deck to center around being a covert player or,
Okay.
or the technical player, like with lots of Q branch toys, or you could fill your deck with allies, like the helpers that James Bond had in his movies, and that would probably make your deck more efficient.
Okay.
Yeah, so to trigger a class combo, essentially
Yes.
what you do is you would play, for example, we have 2 coverts out there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 instincts. So
Two
you would play 1 instinct, and then another card that might say it'll have the instinct icon, and it'll have a colon, and then it'll have some effect. So as long as when you play that, you've already played one of that type, all that will then you'll be able to trigger them. So by having multiple colors together, you can trigger
Like domino effect.
domino effect
Okay.
essentially.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'll get into a little bit more of that in a,
Oh, yeah, no
in
worries.
a second.
Take your
and,
time.
and I'm talking about really quick. So I'll play, that's 1 recruit plus possibly more. If
Okay.
I can trigger its special ability, which I can't on my first turn.
Right, can't do that.
And then this is 2 recruit, 3
There he
recruit,
is again.
4 recruit, 5
There he
recruit.
is so many times. Look,
These
you
are the
get no
basic
card.
starters. There's 5 recruit and 2 attack.
Swirly swirls.
So then I would play my cards out there. They're sort of like in the bank, and now it's my time to expend them. 2 attack is not enough to defeat the henchman
No, he needs
right now.
3.
He needs 3. But I have 5 recruit, so I could, pardon me,
No, it's all
I
good.
could reach out here and I could recruit this card for 2 cost, and this card for 3 cost, and then these go in my discard pile. Pardon me again.
Right, and then you'd get to use them later.
And then in a hand, if I had these together in a hand, I would play that one first with
Right.
the instinct icon on it.
Right.
And then this card that has this instinct icon that matches, that means I can do this special ability. That's the combo class ability.
Okay.
Which in turn goes back to the special thing I can do. I love, as Daniel Craig and this special starter, combo class
Those
ability.
are like some boosts that he has.
Yeah.
Okay, that's neat.
So you might want to center your deck around like, okay, I've got a good start with yellow.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of the game, I am going to try and zero in on being a yellow instinct deck.
And so now those would go to his discard, along
Right.
with the rest of his cards. So now he can't spend that attack. That all goes to his discard.
Those are gone.
These cards would be replaced.
Right.
I'm gonna draw
Yeah.
some new
We
ones
can
there.
try.
We can try.
Yeah, it's like we can make attempts.
There we go. So now
Okay.
two new hero group cards have been
And
revealed.
then I would finish my turn by refilling my
Refilling your hand. How many cards did you draw? 6?
6.
Yeah, and you want to refill at the end because some things might trigger that will make you discard cards and things
Right.
like that.
Right.
And then the next person would take their turn, and it's literally that simple. The intricacies of doing what different cards can, their special abilities, that's the nuances of the game and the real meat of the game. But that's, if you really want to talk the nuts and bolts of the game, is it's you attack, you recruit, and if you can, you attack Batman all the way down the end, the
4
mastermind.
times.
4 times.
Okay.
So then the next player would do it. Let's say it was Tyler's turn, and then we would pull this card off. It would shove the first card down.
Right, so when can we only attack the mastermind when like all of these are full?
No, you can attack that mastermind anytime you have enough strength to hit him.
Oh, right, okay. So as long as I have 6 strength, I can attack.
And sometimes there are special rules depending on which mastermind that can reflect. Like you might need a certain
Certain amount
6
of
attack from a certain class. You know,
Oh,
not
okay.
necessarily in this game, but just in general. With
Okay.
it. Did you want to talk through the schemes a little bit too? The evil plans.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the schemes, mostly because
Oh,
I
well,
like the word scheme, but
each-
also because
each-
they seem important.
Each of our 4 movies has 2 schemes.
Okay.
Added replayability. It has the main scheme from the movie, which in this case is Operation Grand Slam, which
Right,
the whole
okay.
movie was centered on. And it also has a secondary scheme, which is also from the movie, but it's a moment in the movie where Goldfinger is trying to smuggle gold. These are things that the mastermind wants to do.
Okay.
So
Like a subplot.
it's like a subplot within the movie. So we pulled those 2 schemes out of it. And so with this particular scheme, Goldfinger is trying to raise the danger level up by 5 by you not being able to complete your missions.
Kill the dudes, right.
And also at the same time, cards in here like Scheme Twist cards.
Scheme twist cards.
So the way the system works is that there's a more generic scheme twist, and then the scheme card defines what happens when they come out. So that way we can have sort of an event has happened, and then we define the event on the scheme, and it gives the modular system a lot of flexibility.
So let's say it was your turn. Tyler just finished his turn and
Yeah.
he didn't really do
I'm
I'm
anything.
just ready for the scheme twist cards.
So then you would turn over your card, and then a Scheme Twist card would come out. It would not enter on assignment because it's just a Scheme Twist.
Scheme twist.
And the Scheme Twist would trigger the special twist ability on that particular scheme.
Which says,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what-
attach the twist to the leftmost Q branch space. That space is irradiated. It will cost one more recruit to
irradiated.
Irradiated, sorry.
Irradiated.
It will cost one more recruit for any cards there.
Right. So
Oh,
then
that's
we would
bad.
yeah. So then that would, because that was what Operation Grand Slam was. He wanted to contaminate the gold supply of the United States to make his gold worth more. So this is him beginning to achieve his scheme.
Okay. And do you have to, when the schemes come out, do you have to like solve the schemes before you fight the mastermind?
No, they're more typically they're more of an event. So like that's
Okay.
just now a passive
It's
effect.
just
So
like the
anytime you
case.
recruit that, yeah.
Okay.
Now sometimes things will happen where like it's an extra bad guy that comes. So you put the scheme twist into the on assignment area, and he's like 3 strength, and you got to fight him. There's
Yeah, I know.
several different schemes that have flexibility, and so it's all the rules are always on that card.
Okay.
So it's kind of like each little scheme is kind of a whole new mission.
Okay, interesting.
And so there's a similar thing that the mastermind will do.
Right. Okay.
And that is
What's
called
that?
a master strike.
Master Strike.
Master strike. And that is actually represents Goldfinger himself
Striking.
reaching out and striking the players. And it too
How does
would-
he do that?
it comes out and
He
then
just does it.
Yeah.
and then the mastermind has a strike ability.
And so on this card, it'll tell the rules. And so for this Master Strike, starting with you and continuing clockwise, each player discards their highest cost card in their hand until one card has been discarded for each Master Strike played this game. So it escalates.
Do not like Master Strike.
Yeah, so
No.
say you just recruited that nice expensive card with tons of attack and you're
Yeah.
about to,
You're just
break it
trying
out.
to use it.
And then a Master Strike comes along and now he's just made you discard it.
Yeah, Master Strike sucks.
Yes,
I
yes.
am anti-Master Strike.
Yeah.
I am, however, weirdly pro Scheme Twist, though.
It sounds more
Just because it's fun
diabolical
to
and
say
fun.
Scheme Twist.
Yeah.
That's literally the only reason. Okay. And then, so is this what you get when you get the game? This is the box. This
This
what's going on?
is what you get when you get the game.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 movies, all 4 eras of Bond, 5 heroes for each movie, so 20 different heroes, the mix and match. Each movie will have its own set of
Henchmen
villains
and
and
stuff.
henchmen and
Okay.
missions in A's, B, and C orientation.
Okay.
And then on the bottom, it has an inevitable card, which is also a mission.
Okay.
Which, when you run through the villain deck, the inevitable card's purpose is to push the keep
You
the
have
game
to defeat
moving.
that. If it goes off, you lose.
You have okay. Got to
So
defeat it. Okay.
you would get all of those things for 5 heroes, henchmen, missions, and villains for each film.
Okay.
Wounds, gadgets, because who doesn't like Q branch gadgets?
Silly people.
Silly people. 4 masterminds, 1 for representing for each movie.
Right.
2 schemes for each movie. The only thing you wouldn't get is my fancy smancy little.
Yeah, that's
Did you
fine.
want to talk
That's
a little bit
pretty-
about the wounds and the gadgets? We haven't really covered those.
Oh yeah, let's go over that.
Okay. The wounds are gathered are given to you, the players, by the game.
The wounds, like wounds.
Like actual
Like damage
wounds,
wounds?
like wounds. And when the players get a wound, it will go into their deck, and it's basically just a deck clogger.
Oh, but it's so scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
And no
Okay.
one likes to draw, bad cards. And so this is a card that does nothing but clog up your deck.
Yeah,
so
except
it
for,
could
like,
have been
chaotic
one of those
people.
ones you paid for. Instead, you're drawing this one that does nothing.
So how do you get those? Where do they come from? What did you say?
The card mechanics,
Yeah.
the card data,
Yeah.
will tell you, like, when an odd job card comes out, for instance, in this
Mm-hmm.
deck, it says ambush, each player gains a wound.
Oh, so it's like the henchmen and the weird creepy people trigger the
Some
wounds.
of those will
Or
trigger
sometimes
Okay.
it's the mastermind, whichever mastermind. Sometimes masterminds hit you directly with
Okay.
wounds and things
Enemies
like that.
are causing the wounds.
Right.
I guess
game-
I could have just
Yeah.
figured that out because it makes sense.
Yeah,
but
but,
like whatever.
but that would have been too fast. We got time here.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got wounds. All right. So what's going on with the gadgets?
And gadgets are just a simple little mechanic. Some villains, when they come out, will say, this villain captures a gadget. So the gadget would go underneath the villain or mission that just came out.
Okay.
And it's sort of like a little bit of a breather for the players because the villain deck didn't really do anything nasty.
No, well, I mean, it stole your stuff.
Well, you can get it back.
Oh,
though.
okay. I was like,
If
stealing
you
is
complete
nasty.
this mission,
Then you get it back?
Then you
Yeah.
get to put that
And the victory point?
and
Yeah.
the victory point
And
into
the
your
gadgets are
line.
worth extra victory points as well. And so that also kind of thematically, like you don't want this awesome tech that's being developed for James Bond falling into the hands of these masterminds.
Oh, of course not.
Right?
Yeah,
And
that's real
so
bad.
it's a sort of another little way to gain a breather. There's a little more incentive. So like if we're playing like competitively as me and Rob sometimes do,
I see
now
that.
all of a sudden I want to get that mission just a little bit more because
So-
there's more victory points there.
Okay.
And the game can be varied in many ways, and all of these aspects that we're talking about can have little tweaks depending on the scheme and the mastermind combos. So if a villain escapes all the way through on assignment with a gadget, that's bad too.
That's real bad.
what you know?
Does the
Double
gadget- does the
what
gadget
Double
just,
O
like-
lets the villain get away with a Q branch gadget?
I don't know, like
Nobody.
004.
So that would in itself would cause you to
Maybe.
discard a card from your hand. But also, if it's a different scheme or a different mastermind, it might cause an additional
Effect.
something.
Okay.
So adding all these different aspects and mixing and matching them allowed the game designers,
There's
who
a
are
lot.
awesome,
Mm-hmm.
ways to keep the game fun and
Every
different
time,
and
yeah.
every time. Every time.
Which again, yeah, that's the important thing. But we still wanted to. That's why we still brought in the missions. Those we wanted to at least hold that structure from the narrative. and
Okay.
From the film.
And what are some things that make this game special? There's a lot going on with it. What makes this game stand out in the crowd of the Gen Con nonsense?
Well, as you're saying, number one, Bond is highly underrepresented. So if you're a fan of this IP and of this license, this is a fantastic
This is
incarnation.
it.
And it's not just some light little, party game. Not that there's anything wrong with party games, but for the deep strategy, the person who loves all of the like going on a mission, playing through the movies, you get a really solid thematic experience.
It's immersive.
Nice.
It's simple, easy. You don't have to play. Very competitive, challenging, and if you allow yourself, you can be immersed in the movie that you just finished watching.
Which is like what everyone wants to do anyways.
Yes.
That's like always the
you
goal.
can actually imagine yourself as Sean Connery.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then again, if you're already playing Legendary or other Legendary Encounters games, what makes this special is that it is that little bit of a blend between the two.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a straight up randomization. It's got a little bit of structure, but it's also not like our other Encounter games where you're not. There's no big bad guy that you're going against. There's a face to the person you're trying to take down,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also the schemes and twists. So there's a little bit more variability than you might get in one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. What are some future plans you've got for the game?
Well, I was really when they told we built a lot of Legendary stuff.
Yeah,
We
you
have
said
there's
there's like
so
a
much
billion.
content for Legendary.
Yeah.
And then there's Legendary Encounters, and so I'm cranking out the
The
job.
world is your oyster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they tell
World
me
is not enough.
we've got this IP.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited to finally get to do an IP that I grew up watching. I was really energetic about making sure that I did the best job that I possibly could, and I know the designers felt the same. So that's the first thing about getting the James Bond IP that made me really excited. And I'm still really excited, and I can tell you now that we have the first 4 Bonds, and I'm already working on the next expansion, which will include the 2 missing Bonds, which are Timothy Dalton,
Dalton, yes.
and George Lazenby.
Yes.
And the same assortment of 5 heroes, new Moneypenny, more gadgets
Mm-hmm.
to represent those movies, so that every single one of the Bonds is represented in our game. And then I have free reign to do whatever the checklist and talk to the
Everything.
designers about everything I want to do. You and I talked before we started filming about something that you would like to see, and I will.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, the new James Bond is black and female, and like I would love to see that. As part
I
of
would
this
love
game.
to see that.
That is
Yeah.
like so fantastic.
If only there was somebody we knew at Upper Deck that could
Yeah, we can
possibly make that happen.
Yeah,
It's
that's
almost
us.
like you know exactly who that is. It's you
That
guys.
would be me.
Yeah, oh, there we go.
Amazing.
And that's the other thing too. Outside of that, there's this. We're covering 4 films,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a total coming up on the 25th. So depending on how we break that out, that's a lot of content.
That's a lot of
That's a
content.
lot of content.
That's a
And
lot
then
of
stuff,
gaming.
things that come in the future as well, right? So
Awesome.
this is fun. There's a lot to go on here, and we know that like a lot of our fans are deep divers within the thematics of the universes and the worlds that they love. We even though we are deep into our Marvel Legendary with their I think it's 20th expansion.
Oh, yeah, Marvel.
There's still people just crowding us for love, demanding information, demanding new expansions. You still haven't done this character that I want.
Right.
And Bond, there's just as much love for this IP, and so I think that this is going to be one. That,
I've already started hearing the same sort of things like, well, why didn't you do this guy? Why didn't you do that guy? Why isn't my favorite villain
my
in
favorite
the game?
villain or my favorite movie.
Because we're going to.
Because we're going to get
Because
there.
eventually.
I'm really
Yeah.
excited
Yes.
about giving all of that
Cool.
to our fans of the Legendary genre game.
Awesome. This is like pretty solid. I feel like I learned a lot about your game, and it looks really fun.
Thank you.
But I have one final question. What does the Judi Dench card do? Real talk. I've been so distracted this whole time because there's Judi Dench
She's a
like
hero.
looking so serious at me. Can I be Judi Dench?
Yes.
Well,
Yes?
Judy, well, you can be one of the 4 Bonds.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be Judi Dench.
But you can recruit Judi Dench to put into your
As
deck,
your
Okay.
ally.
Okay.
and
cool.
then use Judi Dench's powers.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I
Right.
just saw that and I was like, okay. my dreams are coming true. I love
Yeah.
Judi Dench.
And she's
Okay.
in a couple of, I think she's in 2 of these movies.
I think she's in all of the Daniel Craig movies, right?
She's in all the Daniel Craig movies, and that's where she's a hero outright.
Right.
And then she's a hero in Brosnan's movie too,
Oh, crap.
but as a part of the MI6 hero group. So you
Okay.
have Q and M and
Letters.
Other letters.
Other letters.
Q and
Oh.
M and
A and Z. Hilarious.
I am so quick.
Hilarious. Saturday night at Gen
it's,
Con.
yeah,
I am
it's
just-
Saturday night.
Where you can say letters and become Judi Dench. All right. Well, it was really fun talking to you guys. And the greatest takeaway that I have from this is that I can become Judi Dench. But also, this game seems really cool. What booth are you guys at for people
We're
who
at
want to?
12:05. It is available, and we have an alternate art promo card available if you pick it up at the show.
That is awesome. Who doesn't love alternate art?
Yeah, that's very true.
And if you can make it here tomorrow, I might be the one giving you a demo.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Come
special
check it
time
out.
with Rob. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we're good. It was fun hanging out with you and learning about this game. Thanks. Bye, Internet.
Goodbye, Internet.